Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic BARCLAY, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. In some episodes, I'll have guests available to give you even more tips, but in others, the floor is yours. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic BARCLAY, and Tracy Pleschourt rejoins us. She is the founder of Self-Made You and the host of Secrets of the Self-Made podcast. Welcome back, Tracy.
Thank you, Magic. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you back. In our last episode, we touched on so much, and I had to stop you because I thought, the poor listeners going to be here for hours if we keep going. But I really want to get to a few things that we discussed off air and really stretch them out for the listeners. Now, the first thing that you mentioned was the 4 basics to losing weight and the acronym. So can you explain that to the listeners? What is it? What are the 4 basics and why are they so important?
Yeah. The 4 basics that we teach fall under the acronym of SELF, S-E-L-F. I believe that you have to become a student of yourself to really know how to create sustainable change, to create a holistic transformation. And that starts with solving the mind math. That's the S, solving the mind math. All that is recognizing that you have primitive brain thoughts and you have prodigy brain thoughts. The primitive brain thoughts are meant to be there, but you want to recognize when you're reacting to them and really learn to respond to them instead. And you do that by tripping the trigger of your prodigy brain, otherwise known as your prefrontal cortex. So I have a methodology behind solving the mind math that I teach all of my students. The E is a little bit more simple. That's eating the foods that fuel you. Now, when I say that, I want you to understand that these are the foods that uniquely fuel you. There is no one list, one size fits all. You have to understand, and I would encourage you to come to that understanding by monitoring things like your blood glucose and your ketones so that you fully understand how your body metabolically responds to the environment you're in and the food that you're eating. So eating the foods that fuel you would be the second basic to sustainable weight loss. The third is learning how to collect data. And I would say, most people who are on a weight loss journey, they know how to step on a scale and write down those numbers, record those numbers. They probably are very familiar with taking measurements, but we also teach our clients how to monitor their blood work, look at the blood glucose numbers, understand the patterns that they see after, weeks of analyzing their blood glucose. Same thing with their ketones. We teach them what autophagy is and how cellular cleanout is so incredibly beneficial to your longevity. And then the F within SELF is fasting. We teach our clients how to intermittent fast. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that hear the word fasting and they immediately shut down and stop listening. And I implore you not to do that, because fasting has so many amazing benefits, including balancing out your insulin. And that's very important. Most of our metabolic dysfunction is surrounding high insulin levels. It's surrounding insulin resistance. And, there's so much research going on right now that, insulin resistant is the root cause of so many, comorbidities. And we need to be aware of that. So we kind of, step back from that and teach our clients, okay, what does it look like? How do we get a handle on insulin resistance? How do we become insulin sensitive? And one of the ways to do that is through intermittent fasting. So we teach our clients how to do that. So SELF, those are the 4 basics to losing weight, amongst a whole lot of other things. Like I say, it's really the 4 basics to total transformation.
Love that. And yes, autophagy is the key, people. You need it to keep your brain healthy. You need it to keep your immune system healthy. You need it to fight cancers and other things like fibroids and deposits in the lymph. Like, this is something that you should be doing, which gets me to the next point, fasting. Many people think that's going without food or water for a certain amount of days. If I don't eat, I will lose weight, or if I don't eat, I will create the right autophagy. And, fasting is the key, but that can also be quite a scary ideal to look at. So rather than say fasting, let's call it time-restricted eating. How can that help people? Now, I talk about this with my clients all the time, particularly post-menopause clients, but I want to hear, Tracy, from you. How can time-restricted eating be beneficial?
Yeah, well, so first off, I think that it can really shine a light or reveal some of your self-sabotaging techniques, methods, whatever. If you find yourself sabotaging your own efforts, you want to know that. You want to know what your standard, operating procedures look like. And if they end in self-sabotage, then we need to, get in there and refine what it is that we're doing. So I know that this probably was not the answer you were expecting, but why is fasting so beneficial? Well, it's because everything I teach starts and ends at the level of your mind. We are always looking to solve the mind math. And if you are feeling restricted or deprived through thoughts around like, I would never be able to go without food, or I won't fast, or fasting is some sort of, starvation, like those are all thoughts that are generating the feelings of deprivation or restriction. And that's actually a good thing, because then we actually have something to work from. You can see very clearly how that thinking is making you feel something that ultimately probably has you overeating or binging. So I love the fact that when I go to teach fasting to my clients, if they are honest with me and telling me that they're feeling restricted or deprived, that is great fodder for me to teach the concept of how to solve the mind math. So I love it for that reason. Outside of all of the metabolic benefits, yeah, I think time-restricted eating is another great way to explain it. But ultimately, what we're trying to accomplish from a metabolic standpoint is we're trying to reduce your insulin levels, because if insulin is present in your bloodstream, you cannot burn fat. Most people who are wanting to lose weight need to burn the fat that is stored on their body. That's what they ultimately want to do. And you cannot do that if insulin is present in your bloodstream. So we're trying to keep the insulin that throughout the day will become present. It has a job to do. We want to keep those to restricted or minimal amounts of time throughout the day. So it's just a condensed eating window. So yeah, I think there's a million ways you can think about fasting. I like to just think about it as extending the time in between your meals. And for ease, I like to tell people that you're fasting while you're sleeping. So if you can extend the time, maybe by 2 hours in the morning after you wake up, extend it just a little bit longer before you start to eat. That is so metabolically beneficial because you are keeping your insulin levels low for 2 more hours. And that's a really good thing.
Totally. Now, people might think I'm too busy to do time restricted eating or fasting. I'm too busy to think about myself, as in self. And, I come last at the end of a whole long list of things. How do you teach people to put themselves first?
Well, I would say I'm too busy is just a thought. And if you're operating from that thought or that belief, I would encourage you to see how that's working for you. Look at what kind of results you're creating from that belief. I personally think that sounds a bit ridiculous when you actually take under consideration what fasting is. Fasting is the act of not doing something. Right? So how can you be too busy to not do something? Like that doesn't make any sense. And so I just like to show people, point out how dramatic our primitive brain, our survival brain can be. It sounds very dramatic, like I'm too busy to fast. Well, how could that even possibly be true? My clients tend to feel a lot more energetic when they are fasting. They love the time that they actually get back because ultimately you're saving time going to the grocery store. You're saving time with food prep. You're saving time in eating and you're saving time from cleanup. So you can redirect all of that time savings into so many other things that could make you far more productive. And you won't recognize that until you're actually experiencing it. And so I can talk all day long. And that's why I like the applied learning that we engage in with our students, because it becomes real. It becomes, a real experience that they can, learn from. They don't have to just take my word for it. They can see it actually playing out with a lot of benefits in their own life.
Brilliant. Now, we've covered so much. Is there something that you feel the listeners need to hear that we haven't touched on yet?
Oh, well, I would say that, if you are somebody who feels like permanent weight loss is not available to you, if it is something that has eluded you your entire life, I would take a step back and notice how that thought, like I can't lose weight, or maybe I'm genetically predisposed to be overweight. I want you to just really objectively look at how that thought is making you feel. If you're walking around feeling like you have this weighted blanket or this cloak of shame on you, it doesn't have to be that way. That feeling of shame, of defeat, of brokenness is being generated from a belief that is running through your mind in a very unintentional, subconscious way. And it is highly possible to learn how to think intentionally so that you can generate feelings of confidence, of capability, of possibility, and really create the results that you most desire from your life. And so if you've never been able to lose weight, I just want you to take a step back and try on the thought that it's possible that you just haven't yet learned the correct way to do it, and see how that makes you feel.
Wow, that just sounds so simple, and yet many of us will never do that. So I love that you've pointed that out. Now, in our last episode, we did discuss Self-Made You a little. How is it that you teach people how to be their own coach?
Yes. So I teach, ultimately what we teach at Self-Made You is how to self-coach. We want everybody to create the confidence, the capability in coaching themselves, asking themselves, high quality questions, really questioning those primitive brain thoughts so that they don't need a coach to turn to every single day. Like, I love having the book of business that I have. I love all of my clients, but I don't ultimately want them to be dependent on me as their coach. I want to teach them how to self-coach so that they can overcome any challenge day to day, no matter how big, no matter how small, and they can actually go on to create things that they once thought impossible. And through learning how to self-coach, that's what they create for themselves. They overcome all the obstacles and they learn how to create what they once thought impossible. And that's my mission, is to teach them how to self-coach and to not be dependent on me as their coach on a day-to-day basis.
I think that is key because you are in charge of your own life. So you should be your own coach.
Exactly.
Now, Tracy, people can find you at www.self-madeu.com. That's self-madeu.com. And you also have Self-Made You on Facebook. You have a couple of groups there on Facebook, Self-Made You on Instagram. Now, before I let you go, I should have done this last episode. Sorry, listeners. Our listeners love freebies. So what can you offer? And is it there on your website?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked, Magic. Okay, so we have a quiz and it actually just launched today. So I'm so excited that you're asking this question. This is a quiz that's going to reveal a superpower that you have always had that you can leverage to overcome or to win the weight loss battle, to declare victory over the weight loss battle. This is a superpower that's already within you, but you have not deployed in the weight loss battle. And so it is such a fun quiz. We have a mental health professional on staff. She's a clinical psychologist. So it's a fun and fast quiz, but it really gets to the core of, what's been holding you back from achieving permanent weight loss. So it's going to reveal whether your superpower is enthusiasm, whether you are a scholar, so it's your intellect, or whether you are the romantic, kind of the visionary, kind of the curator of all beautiful things. And how, if one of those is your superpower, how to leverage that to overcome the weight loss battle. And so it's a really fun quiz. And then it's followed by a 5-day free challenge that dives into the 4 basics, the S, E, L, and F. And so you'll get to jump into our app and see what that's all about and really immerse yourself in all things Self-Made You.
This was another fantastic episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Tracy.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Magic.
My pleasure. And listeners, thank you again for your time. Coming up in episode 210, we have Daniel C., who is the Space Maker. And let me tell you, you are going to love that. I have his book right here on my desk. And listeners, I have to thank you again for your time. Please go ahead and leave a review. Jump onto our Facebook. Let us know what you want to hear, who you want to hear from. More fantastic guests like Tracy. Just let us know and we will bring you what you want because we're here about your health, your wealth, and your weight loss. For now, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at A Magical Life Podcast or at Holistic Natural Health Australia. That's holistic with a W. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.